ladies and gentlemen. Coming at you live from the middle of nowhere, the center of everywhere, here once again to give you yet another scrumptious dose of conversational boogie. This is the one and only and sexy Shift Happens. Alright, what's up everybody in the chat? Get that down a bit. Alright, it's been a technical difficulty kind of day for both of us here, but we've got everything working, it seems. What's up, MJ? Sylvain, Russ, Dragon Rose, what's going on? Oh, and most importantly, Elfman. Suck it, my friend. Suck it long, suck it hard. All right. That's my good friend Pat, everybody, Elfman over there. Yeah, been a couple of weeks off, but we're back. A little bit of sort of maybe news is, now I did mention one of the a few episodes ago that the Friends of Film was no more, sort of closed down shop, but turns out it looks like it's actually coming back, so which is really exciting for me. I've loved the whole Friends of Film experience, and so yeah, hopefully that comes to fruition. I know they're planning on it, and if that's going to be happening, I'll be there. So just a little update there. Hey, what's up, Daryl? Long time no see. Oh, I didn't realize I have the chat room right here. I can just look right here. Nice. Okay. Yep, still new to the video game. You know what I mean. The game of video shows. Now, really, without too much further ado, man, I'm forgetting something, I'm sure, but that's all right. Yeah, I'm excited, Russ. I'm excited. 'Cause that was a huge bummer when they told me that, they were shutting down. I was like, man, really? But yeah, it looks like it's coming back, so that'll be exciting. And we'll see who the new lineup is, but definitely some familiar faces. There will be some new ones as well. But I'll certainly be there. Joe, obviously. Jess, the homies. And but yeah, so that's that. Anyway, without any further ado, without any further gilding the lily, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we've got Ryan Burns here, good friend of the show. He runs Space Wolf Research Center and has his podcast, the Hero Paranormal Podcast, and does all he has like one of the coolest lives of anybody I know. And he's always like adventuring, and he's got I think he's got some stuff to show tonight. But yeah, we're gonna catch up with him. It's been a while since you've been on the show, Ryan. How's it going?
Great to be here. It has been a minute. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and we've tried several times too. Our schedules just sort of didn't work out, but we finally got you here. We snagged you. Now, so I just sent you an email right for the show, and that got me thinking. Do you have Disney Plus?
Yes.
Great. What's your password? And I'll put that in the chat room so everybody can just have a look at that.
I don't know.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, bummer. But yeah, it's worth a try. I've asked a few guests, but yeah, I think Jason Quitt's password is actually 0.
That's a good password.
Yeah, just to let everybody know. And apparently that's his bank account routing number too. I tried to get in there, but no go. But anyway, what's been going on, man? What's the latest and greatest? You do a lot of research all the time. You run Space Wolf over there, and you were telling me about just the handful of things you were talking about in the text was sounds very fascinating. So what's going on? What have you found?
Man, there's been a lot. There has been Hit the wrong thing there. Okay.
Oh, do you want to share the screen?
Let's see. I don't know what happened there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was trying to share the screen, but it didn't work.
In that case, oh no, it will. I just need to.
You know what?
I think I need to let you be able to do that first of all.
Actually, you know what? That's okay. Let me see.
No, I got it. Now you can share.
Oh, let's see. Well, I'll just tell you about it first.
Okay, that works out.
Okay, so there's been a lot. Yeah, we chatted a little bit about some of the things, just your typical witchcraft in the Uinta Basin of Utah, UFOs, precognitive sentient intelligences, the ground opening up and like forming these caverns, and we run these little fiber optic cables with cameras down them to see what's down there. Still haven't seen anything that's absolutely, well, actually, we've seen some weird stuff, but yeah, they go down about 50 feet. But no data to we haven't knocked on the door of an underground alien base or anything like that. That's what people usually ask.
Right.
And we have had a number of things just show up, apports, seemingly usually animal parts kind of dropping from the sky. And I know that sounds really gross and weird, but real. Yeah. In some cases, warm and bloody. Legs, bones, claws, paws.
Yeah, and to be real quick, just to clarify for anybody that for some reason doesn't know who you are, so Ryan here has Space Wolf Research, which is right next door to Skinwalker Ranch. So he's in that realm of weirdness all the time and is firsthand, with what's going on over there. So that's where we're talking about here. So yeah.
I should have gone there first. Yeah, we share a fence line, and it is it's interesting territory. And yeah, you name it, we've had it. Buildings, storage containers moving. There's been, since we talked last, a lot has happened. And last time's chat was absolutely off the chain.
Yeah, I think we went for an extra, we were on here for a few hours that time.
That was a wild one. And it's even weirder this time. We had a major cattle operation reach out to us for a third cattle mutilation. They reached out to spacewolfresearch.com, and I've been talking with the rancher, and this is his third cattle mutilation. They're all very strange, with the typical telltale parts missing, usually sexual organs, ears, eyes, tongue removed, cauterized, very, very surgical. And of course, last but not least, the anus is always cored out. And it's nasty stuff, but it's really intriguing. This particular case is very much different than a lot of the others because of stuff he's seen and stuff that's transpired leading up to it. And I mean, we're talking between leased and owned acres. This guy has like 48,000 acres. It's absolutely insane how big this ranch is. And because it's so big, it has many burial plots, indigenous and otherwise. And he believes that a scenario where a criminal was on his property, literally in a vehicle chase with police, just went, it was hours and hours long. And rallying through the woods all over the place and fields and you name it. And the car was a mess by the time it was over, but he blasted through a lot of these sacred sites, and weird things started to happen. So I don't know where we blast off from there.
Man, okay. Dragon Rose says, sounds like Bigfoot is sharing his dinner with you. Yeah, that's always there's just something about that area that by the way, we can share the screen now. I've got that sorted out whenever you want.
Okay, let me see if I can do this here.
Yeah, and also the that storage container incident from I guess it was like a year ago now or something.
Yeah.
That one is wild. We might have to rehash that at some point in the episode. But yeah, I mean, talking about an exciting place to live. And
Very.
now, how long have you had that property again?
I've had it. Oh man, gosh, it seems like forever now, but it's not. Um, let's see. I believe I purchased it in 2018. It took a while to buy it, and we've added to it. And we actually have. This is kind of interesting. We've sold off a little piece of it, and then we bought two more acreages and added them on. So it's actually grown, even though you know what they say. If you want to grow, give it away. I gave away 14 acres and picked up 20, and so now it's at 30 acres. So it's not huge. It's enough to manage, and it's actually more than I can handle with all the weird stuff that goes on and the particular location where it's at. So the container we talked about, just for those who don't remember or didn't hear that episode, I had some researchers up, an exploration research organization up there, and they were tracking entities through these trees and doing subterranean scans, measuring radiation levels and electromagnetic frequencies and all kinds of different anomalies. Great team up from the Four Corners area. And they were staying in this 40-foot RV that I had purchased. It was a haunted RV that I bought in Chicago, of all places, because that's how far I had to go to find one that was legitimately haunted. And I had it shipped across the country to Space Wolf Research. And this RV, we called it the Flying Dutchman, because, the whole
Nice.
Pirates of the Caribbean
Yeah, I like that.
thing. And very much legitimately haunted RV on a legitimately anomalous property with an extremely long background of strange events and sightings and you name it. And these guys were in it. They wrapped up their research, and literally hours later, something vaporized it. It was, we have, there's a number of theories. It's possible that it was just a lightning strike in the middle of the day, on a sunny day. It's possible. And that seems to be the more rational explanation. But there's some interesting theories of what may have transpired, including electricity coming out of the ground and then into the sky, or potentially direct energy weapon. There's a number of theories, but it's vaporized, gone. I mean, nothing left. It was a 12-foot bolt beam, whatever you want to call it, from the neighbors that saw it. And the caretaker just kind of called me up and said, "Hey, your RV's gone." And I was like, "What do you mean it's gone?" And they sent me video and a picture, and I'm like, "There's nothing left. It's literally scorched earth and molten metal, and even some of the glass melted." And this was a 40-footer, huge. So I realized, okay, maybe this is a dangerous area in the property that's prone to lightning strikes. And so what I'll do is, in the exact same spot, I'll put a 40-foot sea container, like a Connex. And that's exactly what I did. And it's never been struck by lightning, ever. It's not, it's just a big, obvious metal conductor just waiting to get hit. And it's never been struck. And the odds of an RV, because of the insulated tires, etc., getting struck, it's like, I want to say the odds of it getting struck are 1 in 680,000, if I remember correctly. And the odds of it actually getting vaporized are 0. It should just get struck, and it shouldn't, it can have a little bit of electrical damage to the components, but there was just nothing left of this thing. So that was really interesting. So that is what we talked about before. Now, that container did get moved from east to west facing direction to north to south. So literally it was like this way, and then it got turned this way. And I had the caretaker call me again, and he's like, "Your container's gone." And I was like, "What do you mean it's gone?" And he's like, "I'm looking back there and I don't see it." I'm like, "Can you walk back?" And he walked back, and he's like, "No, it's just been turned behind a cabin, so I couldn't see it." And this is a cabin that half of it got burned down when the RV got vaporized and we had to rebuild it.
Oh,
So it's a really interesting deal. And we have buildings move quite often on the property, a matter of inches. It's usually like 4 to 8 inches, but in some cases it's 20 feet. And we're talking about big cabins, big, I mean, yeah, sea containers. I mean, big stuff moving around.
yeah.
And sometimes we even have the ground just open up, like I said, and these like caverns, and then it'll just close back up overnight.
That is
So let me
so
see if I
wild.
can share a screen here because I am not doing a very good job. Might be able to. My computer's been giving me a lot of trouble today.
Yeah, no worries. I hear you.
Okay, so I hit share screen, and then for some reason it just doesn't do it. Maybe I
Oh, no
just,
way.
yeah, not doing it. Anyway, um, yeah, let's see if I can. You know what I'll do is I'm just going to go old school on this. I'll snap a picture of my desktop and then I'll just hold it up. But there's a cavern just kind of opening up in the ground. And that's
Yep.
me running some fiber optic cable down into it. And those will just close up. Sometimes within a few hours, sometimes overnight.
So,
And it's fascinating. You do hear some interesting things coming out of the ground. Um, you specifically, if you're running meters and checking levels of electromagnetic frequencies, radio frequencies, if you've got your Geiger counter going, the radio frequencies have like a cycle to them. And it reminds me a lot of what the founder of D-Wave said when he talked about, when you stand next to like a quantum computer, that you can literally hear like this. They have these things called pulse tubes, and it sounds like a heartbeat. And that's very much what you feel and hear up there, literally coming out of the ground, to where it almost seems like the ground itself is like some sort of like alien artificial intelligence.
yeah, man, the quantum computer stuff is boy, I don't we've all heard the analogy of like, it can solve an equation that would take every supercomputer on Earth put together like 7 septillion years to solve. First of all, who thought of that equation? Like, but second of all, to put that in proportion and how, they're saying that it must, with quantum entanglement, it must be interacting with, like, I might be butchering this up, but it must be communicating or interacting and calculating the possibilities out of multiple different universes, like multiverses, and it's somehow all connected, which really, on a lot of levels it makes sense, in certain views of spirituality and quantum physics and stuff. It's actually not too surprising, but in one sense, but in another sense, it's like, man, if we thought the internet changed the world, this is going to be a whole nother ball game. Encryption's out the window. Um,
Totally.
we have to go back to file and cabinet and typewriters and stuff if you want to keep something, secure. Unless they think of something. But yeah, that quantum, I need to look more into it because every word I hear about it, just like, it just turns on that I just start like vibing out, like, oh my God, like something, it's tremendous. But now real quick, with those, those openings happening on the ground there, is that like, well, how about this? Is that area Like, are earthquakes common there? Does that have anything to do with earthquakes, or is this like a separate physical, geographical phenomenon?
You know, I've heard people say, oh, it's just, a little moisture and then it dries out and you get cracks. It's the high desert. But I mean, like you saw that image. I mean, it's deep and it's huge and it'll close right back up again. And we've had quantum engineers throw theories around and, just food for thought on the quantum entanglement. And it seems that it's really a matter of high strangeness in the air and underground. It's both, kind of as above, so below. And the reason I say that is because both the objects in the sky, which seem to move incredibly fast in a fraction of a second sometimes, and oftentimes through matter, like you'll see them literally go through ridges and continue on, and faster than like your human eye can almost follow them. In many cases, you have to slow down the video to actually see these craft or these lights that literally go through like rock. You'll see them go through like a corner of a ridge line and it goes through it. And without any known technology that we have capable of doing that, in addition to entanglement, I think it might be like a teleportation, a quantum teleportation of sorts. And these are not I'm not this intelligent. This is what I gathered from the quantum engineers that have interest in this and are interested in Space Wolf research. So I'm just serving as an information transfer, but they think that it's a potential mechanism for the movement of physical objects. So like that's meaning that the ground itself, like the location may actually be like a mechanism, like a machine. And someone that I'm friends with and is a really bright guy, he doesn't get enough credit, which is Jack Osborne. He is a really bright guy. And the way he explained it to me one day is he's like, Ryan, it's a lot like an aircraft carrier where things are coming in and taking off, and the land acts as that cable that goes across the aircraft carrier that catches it. Do you know what I mean? So that the plane doesn't fly into the ocean. And I thought that was a really like next level, right, explanation of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something to it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and now out of curiosity, is like you sold those 14 acres and you mentioned it took you a while to like, are there whoever got those 14 acres, like, are they researchers also? Is that why they wanted that land? Okay. Is that pretty much like, so was it kind of were you up against other people also wanting that property for the same reasons back in 2018? Yeah.
Correct. I was approached. So I was introduced to this person through Jeremy Corbell. And they were a government employee that was looking to do consciousness studies with a variety of different technologies, namely the Anja lamp, the Pandora star, the God helmet. So these are all electronics that can more or less mimic or recreate the DMT experience in somebody's mind. And they do so in a variety of different ways. So like my favorite one is the God helmet, because that was developed by a Dr. Persinger who was treating Alzheimer patients. And he basically got like an old helmet and stuck like electromagnets in it and would fire them at random. And what he found is, he was helping these people with their Alzheimer's, but more interestingly, they were all having spiritual experiences, or experiences with demonic entities, or experiences with extraterrestrials. So that's where it got its name, the God helmet. Now, what's so interesting about that is this was like not just every once in a while. This was like all the time this was happening. And the Pandora Star and the Lamp are similar but different. So they don't use electromagnets in a helmet. What those are is basically like lamps with LED diodes. And those are super interesting as well. So the Lamp was literally kind of invented, even though I hate to use that word, by, this is the story, is by a priest. And he felt as if he was angelically getting a download of how to create this machine. And you put this lamp over your head and it basically fires in different random synchronizations, and it will do the same thing, mimic the DMT experience, and you get these psychedelic out-of-body experiences. So that was a priest allegedly getting angelic information downloaded into him, and he created the Lamp. Fast forward, the other lamp is called the Pandora Star. And the Pandora Star, allegedly, as the story goes, was downloaded from extraterrestrials on how to do it. And it adds a few lights, so it's a little bit more elaborate and has more lights to it. But same thing. So these are all technologies, electronics, that are kind of doing this for you. But interestingly, you know, with Space Wolf Research, as what I like to say is that Space Wolf Research, on our side of the fence, we tend to go into the niche, or my focus is neurotheology, which is basically this new fringe science, right? That goes into all kinds of groundbreaking innovations. But I think it's the same thing. We try to do the same thing, but not always with the technology. I don't think it's as necessary as a lot of people think. And it's like you said about the AI. I mean, it's great to have your cell phone and all that, but it's getting to a point with the algorithms where you've probably noticed this. You think of something, and your phone will start like showing you ads to it.
QDAR.
That's kind of getting into the neurotheology. Like, that's getting into like the next level, the psionics, where you don't even need a device. And there's people known as Psionics One, and we've had people out there like recently. You know Eric Mitchell, yeah, he's one of them. Yeah. So we've had people like him out there, and he's actually gone out there. And these are people that basically have that brain power where they can basically dog whistle or call down UFOs and interact with entities.
Yeah. And I think Jeff was telling me, Jeff Furnell was telling me that he tried out, I'm not sure which one of the three, but one of those, the one where you lay down, I guess, and all the LED lights are coming in. And I am so curious to try that because, you know, I keep hearing that, and like you said as well, like it's like a DMT experience, and I just need to compare personally. I need to see, like, do they mean that literally, or is it like, so I'm wondering, so I'm assuming they get the visuals and stuff, but are they also getting it sounds like it with the priest and the download and all that, but like, are they also like getting the body high vibrational feeling as well, or is it all just visual?
So, good question. From what I understand, it's all enveloped in the engagement with the observer, what they're meant to see or do or experience. And when you take these technologies that do that anyway, and you put them in a location that does that anyway, you have exponential results. And the interesting thing about this area, like I said, I don't think you need the technologies. And because if you just go there, and as a really good example, if you go there at night and you just sit, like, this happens. Like, brain activity automatically starts on a biological basis, potentially bridging the gap between reality and whatever your thoughts are. And a more detailed breakdown is Basically, well, let me explain it this way. I'm going to back up just a bit, and this will make more sense.
Okay.
There is a CIA doctor that had a bunch of brain scans leaked off of his desk, whether on purpose or not, it's arguable. His name was Dr. Kit Green. He's still around. He's a CIA doctor, and he's working on a project that goes into something studying what's called interference syndrome. It used to be called UFO disease. And this is something that people in areas of high strangeness, and some of the old security guards at Skinwalker Ranch are some of the test subjects. When you're in an area of high strangeness enough for a long period of time, or if you're working with exotic propulsion systems or things, those types of fields, they encounter these brain anomalies that they now call interference syndrome. It's similar to like Havana syndrome, but what basically happens is your brain will get these dead spots, is what they find on the scans. And these dead spots, typically, if you had these many dead spots, I mean, your brain turns into like Swiss cheese. You would be unable to function normally. However, with interference syndrome, it's a little bit different. In a lot of these cases, these people end up getting IQ bumps or downloads, or they're functioning at higher levels than they usually do. And they're already things like rocket scientists or highly trained security forces or things like this. So they actually get like this bump up in IQ. And Eric Mitchell's a great example. He encountered UFOs, and then he like automatically, his IQ just like exploded. And the neuroscience is just absolutely ridiculous when it comes to this, because what they're finding in their research focus is that they were looking for ICD-10 codes for the insurance companies to treat these people, because eventually it'll get to you, but what they're finding is like they are just way smarter than they were originally, and their brains look like unable to have the capacity they have. And I think that there's a biological basis, and this is why Space Wolf Research likes to study neurotheology, is because the brain compartmentalizes things awesomely. Like, it's the most amazing thing. We don't know entirely how it works, believe it or not, even yet. And if you see a demon, or what your brain believes is a demon, or if you see an angel, or what your brain believes is an angel, or if you see an ET, an alien, or what your brain believes is an alien, it will file those experiences into the same part of the human brain, which is really strange, because these technologies allegedly come from those same arenas. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's things are culminating. Things are culminating.
Stuff is happening. Yes, yeah. Big time, dude.
And man, I just don't know if there's ever been a more interesting time to be alive. I mean, it's a pretty, you know what, real quick, speaking of being alive, yeah, Russ, Dragon Rose, I hadn't been on since Ozzy passed away, so we do have to absolutely salute Ozzy just a couple of weeks after that farewell show. And
Amen.
And thanks for the subscription, High Ridge Estates. Right on. But yeah, that was heart crushing. And as a drummer, I really learned, a big part of my learning, not only drumming, but like songwriting in general, like heavily influenced by like OG Black Sabbath, like, the original 4 members, those first handful of albums. And, but yeah, it's funny how the timing of that, like I guess he really knew like it was time to say farewell and planned it accordingly, and just that he was done after that. But yeah, pretty wild. But yeah, it's so, like like I didn't know there was a term for it, but like you're saying, where you just think something and you're just thinking about something, and like something super random, and it pops up on your phone like that moment, And that's happened to me so many times, to the point where, like, it's like, okay, like once or twice here and there, but it's like, yo, what's going on? And I finally stumbled across a little Instagram video clip, and this guy was like, have you ever experienced this, blah 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 blah? Well, this is what it is. And he called it QDAR, which stands for quantum something. It's like radar, but like some sort of quantum radar type thing. And he explained how the technology worked pretty well. I don't know why I don't have that clip saved somewhere, but that's all I needed to know. What is the word, so I can start doing research on this? But yeah, QDAR, and that stuff freaks me out. They definitely, I know they also have, I've talked about on the show before too, but they also have a technology where it's, I don't have a word for this one. It's hard. There's no quick explanation, but when you like, when you have a moment of true realization, like a real breakthrough in your, not only your concept of reality, but in a collective conscious way. You know, like the first guy to ever think about making a light bulb, right? There's actually 3 or 4 people that all did that at the same time all around the world. But when those minds sparked, and they're the first person in a collective consciousness to have a particular realization, first of all, you get that. I'm sure everybody's had, you know, an experience like this where you just realize something and your body just like energetically just lights up and you feel euphoric, like you really stumbled upon something that is furthering the collective consciousness's understanding of a certain aspect of reality. Anytime you have that breakthrough moment, they have some type of detection technology to detect, like, oh, somebody in Houston, Texas is having a breakthrough right now. And then they, whatever they do after that, however they decide to follow up and see what's going on, tap into your phone or whatever, see what you're reading or see what you're looking at, try to figure out what is causing you to have this breakthrough that was, you know, gnarly enough to register on their technology to be highlighted, I guess. I don't know what you call that, but it's out there.
It is. It's pretty crazy. It like universal consciousness, right? They have that 100th monkey, but yeah, theory. But there's something very odd where, you know, all this stuff interrelates. Like I'm a conspiracy theorist of the 10th degree, like the worst. And for example, I just see patterns, and the CIA declassified this study where they sent assets and agents and people into the field to join and initiate into all these different magical hermetic traditions, mystery orders, occult, esoteric schools, and everything, right? And I mean, the Monroe Institute's a great example of this. Mm-hmm. And they were basically trying to study, you know, like, what is magic? What is all this stuff? ESP, telekinesis. I mean, and what they found is that magic is the ability to pattern. So like you're able to find patterning faster than the next guy. And it's like an algorithm, right? It's like practicing something and you don't even need to try. And the better you get at recognizing patterning, the higher your magical influence on your own reality. And a really strange aspect of this, kind of getting back to the neurotheology and what we were talking about with like these technologies, or being able to just do it by yourself with a breath work or a mantra, is they've found that if somebody just takes 12 minutes a day to do any sort of meditation at all, that their brain is able to remember 10 to 15% more. And this is wild because, you know, like, and they said prayer counts too. So it can be meditation, it can be prayer, it can be a mantra. It doesn't matter who your higher power is or whatever remarkable religious or spiritual entity you're trying to engage with. You can actually just be meditating. And what they found is if you did this for 12 minutes a day, after 8 weeks, your brain was literally improving 15%. And you're not studying anything.
Yeah.
You're not going to any classes. You're not doing anything like that. Your brain just got, like 15% smarter. And it's really strange because by the same token, ChatGPT, with everybody using AI now, especially like executives, they did a study, and this is wild. If you utilize ChatGPT on a daily basis, a lot of these executives, CEOs, really high dollar, high earners, smart people, they couldn't remember not only what they sent in their most recent email, but in any of their emails all day long.
Yeah.
Where people that traditionally did it and just typed it out could remember them all. And so it's kind of spooky, man. Like you said, it's not just encryption and your assets being taken away. It's actually a lot more. It's like your actual thinking process.
Yeah, it's taking away the need to critical think, especially the way a lot of people use AI. Like they just ask it a question as if its answer is the ultimate truth. Whereas when I use it, I'm like, okay, what direction is this thing trying to drag me in? Like, like I'm very skeptical, but I do listen.
Bobbing and weaving. Yeah.
Yeah, bobbing and weaving. And yeah, that's I think like an actual study like came out exactly what you're talking about with these executives, and like there's like literal cognitive deterioration, for lack of a better word, from relying on ChatGPT and things like that. For it's one thing to be critically thinking about something and trying to research something and asking it questions for that reason, but if you're just asking it like, what should I think about this, or like what's the answer, yeah, we're losing that the ability to critical think. And yeah, I think that's definitely for sure going to be a problem, is people being not only just like addicted to it, but I guess that being addicted to it, but also like really relying on it to the point where they're gonna forget how to think to a certain extent.
Totally. And this computer stuff is dangerously, these circuits and the technology and the geometric basis of how they work and operate. I mean, it's to the point where it is mimicking a lot of the older ancient traditions. And what I mean by that is it's very, very interesting that like you need AI to make AI now. Like there's a certain level where there's actually AI computing is helping prompt AI to create more AI. And because they like you said, they've seen how effective it is. And the problem is it's kind of like when you're in the ocean and you're like, oh, the beach is right there, no big deal. And then you turn around and look again, and like the undertow has taken you way out. That's kind of what we're up against. Yes. And I'll give you a weird experiment that we did. We've done a lot of weird experiments out at Space Wolf Research lately. I love them. And we were sending people out there to have individualistic experiences on their own and engage with the phenomenon. And we'd send a number of people out there, and we wanted to do it again, but we didn't have somebody for that day. And out of the blue, this person, her name is Jessica Blunt, who does like shamanic journeys, and she's very in touch with consciousness. Out of the blue, she reaches out to me and she's like, hey, I'm feeling like a draw, like a need to go out to your property and like engage. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, sure. Yeah, go ahead. And so I gave her the code to the gate. She goes in, and it's literally an example of like what we were talking with the cell phone, sending you the ad. It was the same thing. Like we didn't have somebody, but we wanted somebody to go out there.
Yeah.
And somebody literally called and said, "Can I go out there?" And so what we were doing in this particular experiment is we were grabbing pieces of paper and we were like drawing what we hoped they would experience when they were out at the property. And up to this point, everything had been 100%. If we drew a bird, they would say something about a bird. If we drew a tree, they would say something about a tree. And a dog, they would say something about a dog. And sure enough, Jessica came back. We drew a woman, and she came back and she had this encounter with what she called a witchy woman. And I was like, this, like, how much deeper, like, how much more complex can these experiments get? At what point is like, are you dealing with sacred geometry or like the blueprint of reality? Are we actually like piercing the veil of the matrix?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, if there's one thing I'm doing before I die is I'm coming out. I want to go out there by my, like, like I guess like George Knapp did, it's kind of like he sat there in that little shed overnight by himself. Like I want to do that, but I want to make sure that I don't have any sort of camera or phone because, what's his name's organ, I forget his name, but the guy that owned it for 20 years, a billionaire dude with the aerospace. What's his name?
Yeah. Robert Bigelow. You bet.
Yeah, and they tried capturing all the stuff for 20 years, and reportedly didn't get anything useful, but I'm sure they did. But I feel like, well, really, I need to do it twice because one, I'm going to go out there with nothing, no camera, no, kind of like the double slit experiment, where as soon as you try to measure it, it acts like a wave again, and when you're not looking, it turns into a particle. Like I want it to be the particle experience, so to say, while I'm there. No measuring equipment. I want to see what's up, and then after that, then I'll go back out and see if I can, capture something or measure something in any way. But I've definitely got to have that experience at some point.
Oh man, you do. And it's important to have that. We call that the kill switch when we turn off all the cameras and we just leave it dark. And that's when everything happens. That's when it just gets absolutely insane. And you'll have everything from, well, as an example, we had one point where literally we fired everything back up, cameras back up, and there was like 10 million, I'm not kidding, birds on the property, like blanketing the property, like they were just, drawn there. And the image of when we turned on the camera and these birds taking off was like, what is going on?
Wow.
And I can probably find that image. The other really interesting thing is that, we mentioned kind of like this could be like a matrix of reality, that once you figure out the patterning, you can start to peek through the veil, like peeking through like a sweater, like once you start pulling on a thread, you can open up little holes into the sweater and see through. And we've captured on camera things that look like dodecahedrons. Like when we zoom in on them, they're different colors, green and blue, like floating lights, look really like cool, like alien-y. But when you zoom in on them, they're literally in the shape of a dodecahedron. And a dodecahedron, going way back, like way ancient mystery schools like Kabbalah, if you research the flower of life, the geometric symbol consisting of like multiple evenly spaced overlapping circles, it's a dodecahedron. And what's weird about the dodecahedron is, speaking of like your brain on God or your brain on meditation or your brain on encountering this spiritual factor, let's call it, this fundamental innate void that we have, and that we can interconnect with the universe when we tap it or fill it. This dodecahedron has 72 facets. And if you go into Kabbalah, or if you study the flower of life, there's allegedly 72 names for God. And then if you go to like Solomon, remember he had like the 72 principalities. And so it really looks like it doesn't matter what culture throughout history you look at, there seems to be this interconnectedness of like like creation, and then fractally it mirrors itself and kind of goes out a lot like well, a really good example is like when Moses went to the burning bush and he said, you know, like, who are you? And the answer was, I am what I am. It's just like, I'm it. And then it's like fractal. There's a fractal experience coming off of that, and now you're part of it, and it just keeps moving out. It reminds me of so many movies, Interstellar. I mean, there's tons, right? But
Yeah.
like that interconnectedness, like you were talking about, when somebody has an idea on this side, somebody has it over there, or it's just wild. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I saw this very interesting experiment that anybody can do. I have it saved on Instagram. I'm not quite sure how to pull it up here, but I'm gonna try to describe this. It's so there's a name for it, like dodecahedron or something like that, but it's a triangle. And
the tetrahedron.
And it's just a fractal image. Like it's a little triangle here, one here, and then that is inside of another triangle that's also in the same. It's a fractal triangle image from micro to macro. And now, if you draw just a triangle with nothing in it, and you take some dice, and you just roll the dice and make it as random as possible, like, you know, where am I going to put a dot here? Or you don't even need dice. You can just pick a point and then draw a line to here, and then just pick another point, draw a line to here. But you can randomize as much as you want using dice to tell you where to put the dot, or a random number generator where to put the dot, or just think of a different place. No matter, if you do that enough times, that exact pattern always shows up, the entire fractal image. And this guy was going into about, that's like basically a perfect analogy to, you know, and this gets into, you know, some people get upset when you like talk about stuff like this, like questioning, I don't know if questioning is the right word, but when free will comes into the conversation, some people just,
oh, I love this conversation. I love it.
So, I mean, we obviously have, you know, I can drink this Gatorade or I can drink this one, you know, like it, you know, I'm making choices, I'm making decisions. But in terms of over time, you know, it's like, you know, the concept of history repeats itself. Like humans just naturally have a frequency about us that we do these in all aspects of life. There are patterns that are just as predictable as this experiment here. And, you know, all these top Fortune 500, you know, like all the top statistic corporations, and, you know, all the dirty people, we don't even know who their names are, that are running the world, right? Like they have like they've known this, and they have a way, like they know what the market's going to be like next year in any given market, just because
100%.
like
100%.
they, like these patterns are ingrained into reality. And that's one thing I've really I say this all the time, but just more and more every day I am realizing how everything is fractals. Like everything you can think about in any direction you can think about, everything you can see, it's this, you know, and this goes into the holographic universe ideas and whatnot, which, you know, who knows. But what I do fully understand at this point in my life is that everything is fractal at one point, or really at all points at all times. And you know, so real quick, yeah, I might have to that's a great clip. I'll post on Twitter for anybody listening. You can go at Shift Happens Pod on Twitter. I'll post that clip to that experiment. It's really fascinating to see. But so, you know, Pat was saying right here, he goes, I don't even try to see patterns anymore. They just come out naturally. And that reminded me of, because you're talking about, meditation and getting in that state of mind. Like, so I meditate, but I also do another thing, because with meditation, it's all about no thoughts. Like, get any thought that comes in, you just get it out of there, and just pure this, right? But I also like to just sit outside at night and not go into full meditative state, but literally just sit in silence, don't move a muscle, and just observe and feel, which is sort of like a meditation in itself, but I'm not rejecting thoughts. I'm actually scanning my thoughts as they come through. Okay, where did that thought come from? Where did that sound come from? Why that sound remind me of this? And it's just in the same way you can get into psychedelically deep natural meditative states. You can, I don't know, with me, like I just connect to, I just start seeing patterns everywhere when I do that. It's like a different form of meditation for me. And it really helps me reconnect with almost like like all the stuff that's in the Celestine Prophecy book, like noticing the synchronicities and understanding why they're happening and how to follow them and that whole kind of thing. Like that little process of just sitting still, being quiet, but still just observing the thoughts rather than getting them out. Let them come, but just observe them. It's like a different form of meditation, but it always recharges me and gets me back to the point of being able to see these, almost paranormal patterns, I guess you would say, but either way is good. You definitely gotta quiet the mind, like you're talking about that 15%, memory loss or whatever. Like that's almost like, it's almost like a computer where you're getting rid of the cache in the cookies, like you lifted that weight off of the brain, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
Which, there's more space.
It's weird that this stuff, everybody was baffled with the Monroe Institute and Robert Monroe, and the CIA got all involved and definitely used a lot of that stuff. And in the stuff we've done at Space Wolf Research, I've had the luck to talk to a lot of intelligence people, and it was really interesting. One of them gave me a thumb drive, and he said, and he did this overseas, by the way. I had to meet him overseas for him to give me this thumb drive, which was absolutely insane.
Wow.
He's like, I didn't break the law now. And he was talking about how a lot of the top security intelligence assets in the United States secretly are doing this stuff. Like among themselves, they all know they're all doing it. But when they talk to like the regular Joe, they don't admit that they're doing these like intense meditations, these out-of-body experiences, psychic exercises, basically martial arts for the mind. And that's literally what it is. And he talked about this guy named, it's called The Phase. And it used to have an app and everything, and they stopped. All the best stuff, it stops eventually. And The Phase is this program by a guy named Michael Raduga. And this is a guy that literally, from what I understand, was literally born in a scientific laboratory in Siberia. And he was created kind of like, in Stranger Things, like created to have these abilities, and did. And he talked about the thousands of illegal experiments done on people to get to a point where they would find the answer and the perspective for a complete perception of reality, right? Like what we're talking about, like there's black budget military projects from all sorts of countries all over the world. And yeah, he was born in a lab in Siberia. Now he's in California. But the wild part is that they are going after the exact same things we are. You know, they want to know, what does it all mean? And they're willing to, like, literally do experiments on thousands of people in conditions that are indescribable. And this thing, the phase, it's what the CIA calls the Focus 12 state, is what they call it. The Focus 12 state. And that is where you're like, basically, like, you remember when, like, you're old enough, I think, where you used to log into the internet and you'd hear the and then boom, you're online.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Focus 12 state is when you're finally online, when you're like, yeah,
okay.
tapped in.
Yeah. Yep. And, you know, like at some of these conferences and different lecture situations, you know, something like Contact in the Desert, you know, if you actually took the time to interview every single person there, every time there's some people from intelligence at the conference. They want to know, because just like it is for us, it is for them. It's the latest display of the newest ideas and information, except for the guys that just rehash the same lecture every year. But, you know, for the most part.
Yeah, that's so true.
And they, like you said, they are interested in learning the same thing we are. And even the most corrupt, evil people that could be behind some of the, like, they still want this, like, they're just willing to do messed up things to achieve these realizations or discoveries. But they are after the same thing. Like, at the end of the day, I think almost all of it. I'm sure there's a couple, you know, there's definitely just some lunatics out there, I'm sure. But, you know, the deeper you, before I forget, Dragon Rose in the chat had a really good statement here. She says, "There is nothing new in the universe. It is all in the ether, just waiting for the right situation to bring it forward."
100%.
Yeah, straight up. And yeah, it's all, everything is tangible. We just have to figure out where it is, where to reach, metaphorically speaking. But yeah, cyclical, fractal. You know, it blows my mind that there's still, you know, like we've been talking about, like, whether you're Hindu or Buddhist or Christian or Wiccan, or, like, everybody's, again, trying to do the same thing, trying to have a connection with the source of whatever all of this is. You know, it's, you know, different religions pay their respects to it in different ways. They have different cultural views of what it means, and how to approach it, or what not to do with it. But they're all talking about the same thing. We're all trying to understand and connect with that same source, I guess is the word I would call it. But I'm, you know, it kind of, a lot of times it seems like, you know, like, we are the source, like, you know, it's one and the same. There's a lot of people, you know, most people like to think, it seems, that there's something else, you know, like, but really, you know, just like Jesus says in the Bible and in every other prophet and every other religion, like, it's within that rock as it is within you, as it is in God, as he said in the Gospel of Thomas. I totally butchered that line, but something like that, you know. And it's funny, they left that book out of the, you know, the Constantine or whatever. They got rid of a bunch of books from the Bible, what, the Council of Nicaea, whatever. It's funny, like, when you read,
like, they got rid of a lot of good ones, the Book of Enoch, and
I mean,
all the ones that had to do with magic. Go figure.
And when you really I haven't read all of these lost books, but I had a phase where I went through quite a few of them, and it's like, oh, like, the mainstream Bible is put into so much more understandable context when you add these other books that were taken out. Like, they're missing, like, there's dots that are not being connected with the mainstream Bible because they took out the parts that relate one part to another. And The Gospel of Thomas is a great one because it's just 114 quotes. Just it's not written like a story. It's just one statement after another, almost like Mitch Hedberg style. Just a bunch of one-liners, you know. And but boy, it sure does scream Eastern philosophy, you know.
Oh, totally, dude. And
Yeah.
I that's what I love about, I mean, and I've got all, you can see all the books, like people, and it's more, I'm the devil's advocate, literally. Like when people like harsh on the Bible, I'm like, no, it's right here. When people like harsh on another one, I go and grab it. Like no matter, like, because they're, like you said, they're all fractally connected. They're all similar. It is, in my opinion, so interesting that this Eastern ideology, if you want to call it that, is so unique to that culture. And yet, you know, you look at like the book of Job, like somebody said, like, oh, I was just talking with a guy the other day, and he's kind of a theology expert, and you know, he's like, I'm feeling like Job lately, like I'm just going through it, you know, like it's hitting the fan. And you read the book of Job, and it's so funny because he says, you know, like it's like this poor schmuck that like literally just gets tested to the max, right? And I'm being super blasphemous, like compartmentalizing it and giving the cliff notes this much, but this guy just goes through it, but never really, like, you know, he's super loyal and super true. And he has a saying that more or less, like, I really didn't lose anything. Like none of this stuff was ever really mine. And that's like such a mind-blowing, like, I love that theory. And when it comes to, in my opinion, when it comes to those moments like you discussed, when you feel connected, when you know, when you asked me, you know, when did you buy Space Wolf Research? It reminds me, because you forget these things, but I had one of those moments. I went out to the property, and this is after like 2 years of trying to get this particular property. I mean, it took forever. And I went out to the property, and it's literally just ghetto. If you see it in the daytime, you're just like, get me out of here. Like, I don't want to be here. There's nothing here for me. This is just like, you know, ugly high desert. But once night comes, it just totally changes. And I was out at the property at night, and I had a very interesting thing happen on the way home. I was driving home, and this massive wolf-like creature came out in the road and just sat in the middle of the road. And wolves allegedly don't exist in this part of the state. They're now starting to, because of some releases in Colorado that have found some natural protein flow ways up into Yellowstone. But at that time, allegedly, wolves didn't exist in the state. And this huge wolf, I mean, definitely a wolf, comes out in the middle of the road and just sits down and does not move. And I'm like, slow my car to a stop, and I'm looking at this wolf, and I notice that its left eye is missing. It just has like this hole in its left eye, and I'm looking at it, you know, in the car. I wasn't brave enough to get out, and it's looking at me. And it was like that moment, like you're talking about, when you have these moments, that it was like, yeah, are you gonna do something? Like, are you gonna buy this property no matter what, or are you just wasting time? Wow. And that's the message I got when I'm looking at this wolf. And that's why the actual symbol for Space Wolf is this wolf with an eye patch.
Yeah.
At first I did it with like a big gaping hole, and it didn't look right, you know? So I'm like, I got to put an eye patch on it. Yeah. But yeah, you get these moments when you know that the universe, or, you know, you're tapped in, and they're just those aha moments. Like, are you going to do something? It's time to do something. And it's almost like a real-time deja vu.
Man, I'm not going to go into it here, but I've had such a remarkably similar experience, but with a rabbit, which is, you know, where that ultimately comes from. Um, wow, it's really funny. That's trippy to hear. Yeah, that's trippy to hear. And oh, okay, real quick. Hey, Elf, if you're still listening, yeah, he was saying I wish there was a way to call in. Yeah, since Skype kicked the bucket, we don't have a call-in system at the moment. Still trying to figure out the best way to do that since Skype isn't around anymore. But Pat, if you wanna jump on, you're more than welcome to come on and ask some questions. I'll send you the Zoom link. Just let me know if you want to. Um, but yep, I'm sure Pat has some excellent points and questions.
Man, I'm living under a rock. Is Skype totally gone?
Yeah, in May they
That sucks.
it's gone. They moved it to now it's like Teams, I think it's called. So it all kind of went over there. But the only thing is, like, I have a registered phone number with Skype. Like, it looks like a real phone number, but it's specifically for call-ins. But in order to keep that number and keep using it with Teams, you have to be like a corporation. You have to have like a corporate account or something, and it costs like a ton of money. Which,
Wow.
speaking of money, I had like $50 of credit on that phone line that I'm sure I'm not getting back. You know, but yeah, it sucks we don't have a call-in number right now. The only other, do you do call-ins on your show?
You know, I usually don't. When I
Yeah, I don't
if
think
it's
I've ever
somebody
heard
I
one.
know and they're like on the road or something, I'll like tap them into the audio through their like phone. But yeah, I
Right.
used to do Skype. It was great, but now I don't even know. Like, I mean, I guess you could do. The only thing I could think of is
You know, there's Google Voice, but it just doesn't
yeah.
work well. And like half the time, it doesn't show you somebody called. But I don't know. Jess uses she uses that for her call and stuff, and it seems to work fine for her. So, but I don't know. But yeah, anyway, point is, yeah, Skype's done.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's been especially for this show. It's, first of all, I've had to redo everything about the show because I used to just first of all, audio only through Spreaker, and Spreaker would obviously broadcast it live, but that's how I got to Spotify and everywhere else. It was all, and YouTube, it was all through there. And then Skype with the phone number. And now Spreaker's no more live broadcasting as of last December, which is insane. That's the only reason people used Spreakers, for the excellent chat room. It was all contained and everybody could just hang out. What I guess what they're actually doing is trying to turn it into a Patreon type of platform. They finally admitted after a while, but it's like, man, you're pretty late to that. Like, I don't know. Who's calling the shots over there? But yeah, everything about
They're
the
all
show
just chasing the grift. Yeah.
Yeah, this 10 years too late on that one. Not that, and I'm surprised that the live broadcasting version of Spreaker wasn't. I mean, it's popular in our little community, but outside of this community, nobody's ever heard of Spreaker, and I'm surprised it didn't do better than it did. It was a great platform, I thought, and it made everything very simple for me as well.
It was the bomb.
Yeah, and we still upload the replays up there, but
Yeah.
that's it.
Everything seems like it goes through this cycle of, like, I mean, Skype was it. It was just, I mean, I would never would have thought that Skype would go anywhere. But yeah, that same with Spreaker. It seems like that happens.
Yeah, and Dragon Rose is saying, to do it like Michael Strange style, where he has he has a Discord channel and all of his communities in there, and they can just jump on the voice line if they want to call in. He just unmutes them. I could definitely do that. We at least need to do that. But a lot of people, got scared from Discord a few years ago. I don't know if you remember that, but
Oh, it got insane.
yeah, and the Fringe FM Discord was popping at the time, and like it was popping, but I guess the way we had it set up, because we got some sort of content, somebody's talking about something they didn't like, so like a big strike on not just the owners, but everybody in the Discord, because I don't know if we set up something wrong and accidentally made everybody essentially admins in that sense. But once that happened, the whole Fringe FM community, like all the listeners, just bailed. Like I'm talking like 95% of them just stopped using it. You know, oh, this is censored. This is nonsense. Like, which I totally get that. But also, Discord is a great app for communities, and I don't know. Well, I never started one because we had the Fringe FM one, so I would just hang out there. But yeah, if that's not coming back, then that is a good idea, Dragon Roads. That'll definitely help some people call in. But there's still a lot of old school folks though that they're just you know, they got a landline. They don't know nothing about computers or they don't even know what Discord means.
I preferred. I'm just gonna say it. Like my favorite podcast hosts were the last ones to go to video, like yourself, Greg Carlwood. Like there's a number of them. I didn't want to go to video.
Me neither.
I didn't want to.
Me neither.
It's like that magic, that Art Bell magic, you know, where your mind fills in the blank.
Yeah, there's something special about it. Like just your mind fills in the blank, and there's nothing to be distracted by. You know, you kick back, turn down the lights, you know, sit by the fire, and just get in the zone. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want? What do you want to stare at us sitting here for? Like, I don't get it. The only
It's
good
so true, man.
the only good thing is like we can show pictures of what we're talking about if we need to. That's useful, but also, I don't know. Like Jimmy Church did it a great way where he had back when he had the whole sandbox situation on Twitter. Like everybody would hang out on this segment of Twitter, and he would post images as he went along, and it was still audio only. Many people.
Audio only is just legit. And I think it goes back all the way to like, you know, like the old time radio shows. Like I remember when I heard that those were like a thing and I started looking and listening to those old time radio, it's like wild. It's like your mind just like paints these like magical, and it's like Art Bell. I mean, arguably like one of the most intriguing. I mean, Coast to Coast was like just such an intriguing show. And it's fascinating. I recently found out that actually Robert Bigelow was behind that as well. Did you know that?
What? No.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Coast to Coast AM as a whole, or Art Bell specifically, or both?
So this is really interesting. So Coast to Coast AM was actually originally funded by Robert Bigelow.
Wow.
And he was using it as a way to find out information because he was studying, as he does, these things. And fast forward, if you look at what Robert Bigelow is studying now, it's consciousness.
Yeah.
Like he's cutting edge. He's gone through, you know, all these different ways of engaging with the phenomenon. And I've heard stories from the Navajo Rangers out in the Four Corners that they would get calls of high strangeness. And by the time they would go out there, and these are people that live in the area, that Bigelow would have his men, they would call them different things, but Bigelow would have his teams there on site, oftentimes before these guys arrived, like in their Suburbans and stuff. And they're like, how did you get out here so fast? You know, they would like fly out. Yeah. I don't know. Another really amazing, I always say all roads lead to Bigelow. It's like he knows more than most presidents, you know?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. And man, if I could just have a one-on-one conversation with him attached to a polygraph, that's all I need. No matter what he says, I'll just read that polygraph. Like, okay, see what's going on here. Because he definitely, and you know, and that makes a lot of sense. You know, his interest in consciousness, because I think it really seems like to me that whole area, Skinwalker and Space Wolf, and that whole area, there seems like pretty clear to me that there is a consciousness to that area, like the way that it only does certain things when nobody's looking or measuring it, you know, just like the double slit experiment. Like it seems to be aware and knows when it can get away with all the crazy stuff that goes on there or when not, you know. And I we've talked about this before, but uh, along with that sort of consciousness aspect to the area, I think that might explain why there's UFO sightings there as well. Not that my idea is like the UFOs aren't the ones causing, at least most, they're not causing most of the phenomena there. They're actually there to study it. Is what I'm thinking.
They're the watchers. Yeah.
They want to know what that is just like we do, I bet.
They're the eye in the sky. They're always watching. Yeah, man. It's really interesting because there's something that's so huge that I'm just going to come out with it. It's huge. It's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about.
Okay.
Like
well,
nobody.
Let's go.
And we know that he's a very successful real estate man, a tycoon. Never did a bad real estate deal. But interestingly, when he sold the property, this is crazy. This is going to be crazy. This is going to blow your mind. When he sold the property, and this is a property that at the time was 480 acres. Then it moved up to 512 acres. Now it's got leased land, so it's a little larger. From what I understand, I can't verify the leased part, but let's call it 500 acres to just more or less for round numbers.
Right.
So when he sold the property, this property was 500 acres, between 480 and 512, depending on who you talk to. And it sold. Are you ready for the price?
Let's hear it.
$500,000.
Wow.
So $1,000 an acre for the, and this was hidden. And not only was it hidden, that they actually put out some interesting articles. People did that it sold for 4.8 million, or and these articles had no data or basis or anything.
Yeah.
But so it sold for $1,000 an acre, and this is prime ranch land with irrigation rights, verdant valleys, absolutely steeped in tradition and history, and according to, well, as an example, a property next to me right now that's 200 acres is selling for 7.5 million.
Yeah. What the hell?
And it's nowhere near as nice. And so nowhere near as nice, and it's selling for 38,000 an acre. And so when I heard this, and I can't tell you who I heard it from, but it was a legit source. He said, "You won't believe this." And I said, "Well, why would he do that? Why would he sell it for so little?"
Yeah, so he must still be involved. That's my first reaction there. He just wants to make it look like he's not there anymore, I guess. Like a shell company or something, or a shell real estate person.
I mean, it's genius because he got out of the liability of owning the ranch, at least forward-facing liability. And now it's a, transparent, yeah. So anyway, now it's involved with a television show, and anything you see going on there, you just assume is part of the television show.
Right. So now, is there any discernible difference between your technical acreage and their, is there anything that happens over there that doesn't happen where you're at and vice versa? Or it's just all
I'll tell you one thing, and this is another mind blower. Like I said, I have a measly 30 acres compared to this massive ranch.
Right.
I can tell you that I pay more in property taxes than they do.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they're obviously not done, it might not be called NIMS or whatever anymore, but
Yeah, I think there's more, a lot more. And back to Bigelow, what's so fascinating, he is the ultimate, I mean, just it was always a one-way valve. All the information, no information comes out of the Bigelow camp ever.
Yeah.
It's hermetically sealed. And what's so cool is allegedly this real estate deal took forever for them to make this whatever transaction. But Bigelow, going back to like the Art Bell days and going back to other things, really interesting. He used to study and get information not only from Coast to Coast AM, but he would get information about abductees from MUFON. He was funding MUFON, gave them substantial amounts of money. And he was involved with the creation of a little black box that they would place in the homes of these abductees and plug into their phone lines. And this was allegedly connected to the DARPANET. And this was so that if they had an abduction experience, they would know about it. And the way they would sell it is, hey, we'll put this little black box in your home. If something happens to you, we will be able to take readings and be aware of it. And it's there for your safety. And as you know, DARPA and the DARPANET, the ARPANET, is like the precursor to the internet.
Right.
And now we all have these little humming black boxes in our homes, like over, all the time, just humming. And it's actually really interesting that a lot of the technology that allegedly was in this abduction box is similar to another box that they call the MUPOS system. But yeah, I think it's really interesting that these abduction boxes were kind of like early modems, in people's homes. And it blows me away that we have like all this wireless stuff going on all the time, all around us. And we seem to not be bothered by it, but I think there might be something to it.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I mean, there's definitely, it actually happens. Like, this is not a rare thing to happen. It happens somewhat regularly. Like, especially like I was saying earlier, I'll just sit outside in pure silence, not moving a muscle. All of a sudden, the general pitch of the frequency of my environment changes. All of a sudden, wing! And when that happens, my mood changes. Like, it's like somebody literally just turned the radio dial to a different channel of thought or something for me. Or like, and between that and, there's people that are, like, there's actually people that are allergic to Wi-Fi signals that, like, they can't live in a city. Micah Hanks covered probably the most famous case of that, some lady in North Carolina. And they couldn't figure out for the longest time what it was, like, but it was Wi-Fi. And, but yeah, all this, I mean, first of all this stuff bouncing around can't be like, it can't be very good for us. Bluetooth signals, Wi-Fi signals, just radiation of all that kind of stuff just slamming through us all the time. But also at the same time, I'm sure they're able to use that as a form of measurement almost, and as a form of recording. Like, I don't know if you saw, this is probably a year or two ago now, but they're able to use AI. They connect AI to your Wi-Fi router, and it can, based off of the signals bouncing around, it can reconstruct what looks like a wireframe 3D, like 3D graphics, but before they do the texturing, like just the wireframes, it generates an image of everything that's in the room. The people, like any physical object, it just has an outline of everything in there with no visual anything. Just the Wi-Fi signal bouncing around. AI is able to calculate how far that bounce went and how far it came back, or how quick it came back, and it's able to make an outline a visual image just from Wi-Fi signals bouncing around. And
it's fascinating.
And that's just
it's
something
like a
we know
LiDAR.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a much better way to explain it. Yeah. It's like LiDAR, basically. Yeah.
I've heard arguments that, there's a lot to this. And if you ever want, I've done this recently after this older lady that I talked to in Canada. Her name's Karen Holton. She has what's called the Quantum Guides Show, and she's awesome. And she's been around forever and knows a ton. And, I've started leaving the house without my cell phone, which sounds like going in the ocean without a life preserver, right? It sounds insane this day and age.
Yeah.
And when I leave, and the first thing that when people heard I was doing this madness, they were like, "What are you doing? Like, what if you get in an accident?" And it's like, well, what did our parents do? They just stuck around. I don't know, like, figured it out.
Yeah.
What if you, what if your car breaks down? And it's like, oh, I don't know. What did our parents do? They figured it out. But it is the most, if you want to feel like a tumbleweed, like literally blowing down a dusty road, when I leave the house without my cell phone, it is the most interesting experience. It's super freeing.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're escaping something.
Yeah, which is so crazy to even say. Like, all I'm doing is going to the grocery store. Like, come on, right? And it's like, I don't have anything in my pocket. I don't worry about anything, and it's fascinating.
It is that literally just happened to me like 3 days ago. I was just running to Walgreens, and I didn't realize till I pulled in, I forgot my phone. And I was about to just turn around and go get it, and I actually had to like sit there and like tell myself, like, I don't need it. And then once I accepted that I'm just not going to have it right now, then this really interesting, freeing, like, I just escaped
I'm a
jail
damn outlaw. Like, it's like, nobody can get a hold of me right now. This is really crazy.
Yeah, man. Dude, when I was a kid, like, literally every kid I knew, we would all, after school or whenever we weren't in school, because we lived in a forest with all these like green belts, and it was just like a big maze of forest everywhere, and nobody had cell phones. Like, we just, and our parents didn't know where we were. We just took our bikes and just left, and we're just gone all day, and we just came back home
all day.
It was so
until
normal.
It got dark.
Yeah, it was so, but now you don't see. First of all, I don't see that happening anyway, phone or no phone. I don't see kids running around, the green belts by themselves.
They're horrified. Everybody's like in this understated fear mode.
Yeah.
Of like everything crumbling. And it's really strange because it's further from that, or at least if you look around, it's like there's just not that's really not the possibility. At least it doesn't seem that way. But it seems like everybody's just fearful. Something happens, and what's the first thing they do? They just start recording it, as if they don't record it, it never happened. Right? Back to that double slit experiment.
Yeah.
Like, if they just tell you that it happened, you won't believe them. They have to record it. And there's so many cases of people doing this in the most awkward, like, situations where they should be getting involved. Like, somebody needs medical attention or help, or, it's just really fascinating that we are literally becoming almost as if controlled by our devices.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that control element of it, not only the controlling, but just the observation and surveillance of it, just every aspect of it, I think was very well planned out before. Like, there's a lot of people's, like, there's certain aspects of modern connectivity with the internet and whatnot that for sure, even, there's some things they didn't see coming. Like, seems pretty obvious the mainstream media and news outlets never foresaw a day where nobody trusts them anymore. That's because of the internet. Like, if they would have known that was going to happen, they probably would have nipped it back in the 90s, you know what I mean? And just restricted it to like academia and military intelligence and stuff like that.
100%. Well, like getting back to that, the modems in our houses and that little black box, that the abduction box that Bigelow had in contactees and abductees' homes. I told you that it's similar to this MUPAS, anomalous phenomenon study box. If you look up MUPAS, it's funny because this is a device that allegedly can tell you when entities are near. But if you go to the, if you just type in experiencer-studies.com or MUPAS, let me pull this up because this is crazy. It says, do the experiences you have from an external source outside of your mind, or are they entirely manifested from within your mind? Most experiencers feel they receive their experiences from outside of their minds from an external source, sometimes far away or even from another world. Essentially, their minds are receptors of a message transmitted to them that provides the sensations they receive and interpret as an experience. How the mind interprets these messages varies from person to person and may even depend on their situation and location. When asked, experiencers are only sometimes aware of who or what is sending these messages, or why they are being sent messages at all. For most experiencers, not knowing the reasoning behind the messages they are being sent is an uncomfortable situation. And then it goes on to say technology can help in these situations by giving the experiencer a notion of a forthcoming event that may trigger an experience. And it's kind of like this new era of the experiencer box or the contactee box or the abduction box. Kind of that same thing. Oh, cool. Pat's in the house.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So we're going to take a phone call per se. Got a little call in here with Elfman here. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just had to let him in real quick.
No, that's perfect timing.
But yeah, I mean, you know, you got to think about that. You know, you got to think about that. But okay, what's going on, Pat?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right, man. You were just sitting here talking about the way you're missing your phone, and you feel like, oh my God, dude, I figured this out a long time ago, man. It's that frequency thing, man. You're addicted to that frequency. Instead of us being the 432 like naturally we are, you know they changed it in music because you're a musician. Yep. They changed that. And what they did was, if you pay attention, transhumanism is not what people think it is, man. Okay? It is and it's not. This is the way I look at things, so I'm going to get out there a little bit. But they're changing our frequency, man. And our frequency is being more adaptable to the machine than to nature. Do you understand what I said? So when you leave your phone or you're leaving anything, you're not in your natural frequency anymore. So you're kind of like, it's like not used to the natural frequency. So therefore you're like, oh my God, I feel weird. I need to get back to the other frequency, which is the transhumanism, whatever you want to call it, frequency that they want people to be on.
Yeah.
You know, it's always been about frequency, man. You guys were talking earlier about, you know, people seeing things and algorithms and stuff. Gigi, you know how I am, man. I post stuff on my X account that if you read it and you kind of understand and get in my brain a little bit, you'll read that stuff and you'll be like, holy shit, that's friggin' deep. Just because I can't come out. Words are really tough with me, man, because everything with me is pictures. Because humans, we're made to see pictures. Our original, think about it. What was the original thing we used to communicate besides our minds? We did hieroglyphs. It was all pictures. They always say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Words are watered down, dude. Words can be manipulated, changed, and everything else. We need to get back to the pictures, man. That's where I connect with people that are more picture oriented, because somebody that's academia kind of people and they've got words, man, they just sit and it's like word after word after word after word. And I just kind of sit and just go, okay, you lost me. But you draw me a picture, boom, we're on the same level. I got you, man. You're hooking with me and I'm hooking with you just on that picture. Pictures, man, when you look at a piece of artwork, you look at it and you're looking at the whole thing. Words are just like microscopic to me, man. They're just little pinpoints and I don't get it. You got to show me that artwork, man. When I see that artwork, I understand. When you show me your artwork, I understand your feeling. I understand your thought behind it. I get all of it. And I know it isn't up, it's up to interpretation. But dude, anyway, the frequency thing, I'm telling you, man, that's all it is they're changing our DNA to a different frequency. You know what I'm saying? Our energy, our soul, whatever you want to call this. There we go with the word shit. But it's just, that's what's being changed right now. All the Wi-Fi and all this stuff, they're all antennas, dude. We got natural antennas. They're called trees. Okay? Now they've made new antennas, which are the damn towers. Right now we're in a frequency war, and they call it a spiritual war, but I guess it is, in a way.
Yeah.
We're going from nature to this mechanic. And that's all I see, dude. I just sit back and I'm like, look at the whole picture, people. You keep wanting to pinpoint things, man. Divide and conquer. And that's all you're seeing right now with everything. It's just a constant division. Gigi knows I'm not into the UFO stuff, man. I'm more into Earth, dude. I'm an Earth-based thing. Now, this is my planet. This is my place. This is it. Everything's here. I've never had a UFO experience. I've never had any of that. Now, paranormal, dude, my whole life, because I get that, because that's me. I'm a part of nature. That's why I have a hard time connecting with a lot of people nowadays. It's just because they're so, I call it mechanical, because if it's not natural to me, it's mechanical. Everybody's into this mechanical, thing, and I just don't get, it's a different frequency, man. I can't vibe with it. And, like the phone, like I said, man, I have to get away from my stuff. I have to go outside, man, because it's just like I just get to the point where I can feel just like you can feel it changing your moods. You can feel it. You just don't realize, man, the weather manipulation, everything's manipulated. Nature's gone, dude. It's now being controlled by man. It's not nature no more. That's the struggle we're in. It's that nature mechanical shit to me. Anyway, I didn't mean to take over, but man, the frequency thing, dude, I'm telling you, that's all this shit is, man. That's it.
Because we're so used to feeling, it's kind of like jumping in cold water all of a sudden. We're used to the room temperature, and all of a sudden you're in cold water. It just changes everything. It's just like all of a sudden you're not. Yeah, and I've been trying, like, I never keep my phone on me anymore. I always have it around. When I go to sleep, I put it on the other side of the room. Like, and on top of that, it's been almost a year now. I've had my phone on Do Not Disturb mode, and I cannot turn that back off. I just enjoy so much not being interrupted in the middle of a moment. You know what I mean? And then once you turn Do Not Disturb on, you can make some exceptions for people, like let this person call through if they need to for like an emergency or something. But man, that's one of the biggest game changers for me in this last year was Do Not Disturb mode. I have so much more peace and my thoughts are more continuous. Like I'm just not being distracted every like I can just pay attention to what's going on.
But just realize the more and more they're putting towers up, the more and more everything's Wi-Fi. Dude, me and you've talked about it before, man. Words do mean things if you pay attention to what they say. When they told you it was a World Wide Web, they weren't lying. They're just making the web tighter and tighter. The strands are getting closer and closer. That's it.
What is it that the Bohemian Grove says? Weaving spiders come not here. It's like that back to the web.
Yeah. I forgot about that quote. Yep.
Everything. It's all so connected, and people just don't get it because with that, it's constant separation, man, with everything. And the frequencies, like you were talking about the, I forgot what you guys were talking about earlier, man. I just lost track of my mind because it's going faster and faster because I'm trying to catch up with what you guys were talking about because I had so much stuff to go. Because when you say something, my mind just goes, but it's just dude, everything is connected. The one thing I will say, man, I'm going to go off here and something else, but I do believe we have DNA. Each one of us has DNA, but each one is different. Okay. So if you look at it like a play, each one of us has a role to play. You know, the Matrix, we all have one program that we're on. So I believe psychic people, you know, we're all psychic. It's just we have to find the frequency for us to be that psychic. Each one of us has to find our own unique ability, but we have the main ability. The detail is what we are. We've got to figure out our detail, our frequency. We have to figure out that kind of mends in and blends in with the main frequency. We've got to find our own offshoot, but it's going to lead us to the main one, you know? And that's just it. Because, you know, Gigi knows I'm always griping about people with the woo-woo shit. You know, I'm like, ooh, shit, okay, psychic, you know. To me, that's all a science. Everybody wants to look at a fantasy thing, and it's like, I don't look at it that way. It's a science that you have to figure out. And no matter what you think, it all goes right back to frequency, the vibration, and light. That's the three things, man. They're all the same thing, but they're separate. You know, and it's just like us. Each one of us has this unique ability. You just got to figure it out. I see patterns constantly. And like, you know how you say people try to meditate. I got to the point where I used to meditate all the time and do all this stuff. I don't have to do a lot of that now. It's just a natural. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I start seeing patterns, but you know, not like sitting there purposely doing it. It's just naturally. When I get on like X or start looking at news, it's like all of a sudden everything just pops out to me, you know, and it's just like, oh, okay, boom, boom, this connects with this connects with that. And I think that's a lot of people's problems. They haven't found their way to connect the dots yet.
Yeah, and the more you do, you know, it's sort of like once you learn how to ride a bike, you kind of don't forget it. Like you just get better and better at pattern recognition, which is essentially, for lack of a scientific term, I mean, that's basically what your IQ is how well do you recognize patterns, you know? And but man, I'm wondering, you know, speaking of the frequencies, if like Ryan, if like, I don't know, when you drive into Sedona, but you're not quite in it yet, but you're also not anywhere else, you're just in that in between, that last stretch of road on your way in. This also happens to me in Joshua Tree as well, which is why I go there all the time. But the frequency is different. Like you feel the frequency, like there's something there's an energy there that's just certainly not here in Houston, Texas. Nothing of the kind over here. And I'm wondering, do you get, when you drive into the Space Wolf Skinwalker area, is there a particular frequency change like that is like palpably noticeable?
Same exact, that what you describe, I feel the same thing when I drop down into Sedona.
Yeah.
You'll feel the exact same thing. And there's actually a line where it's an area known as Current Creek, where you drop down off of Strawberry and you come into what's known as the Uinta Basin. And I would say that there is about an 80 square mile area where you feel that. And as you get to the center, which is right there at Space Wolf Research and that old Bigelow property, as you get to that epicenter, it just gets more intense. Kind of like Sedona, it just gets more intense, right? As you get in towards, and it's the exact same thing. It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. And
you got people out there using dowsing rods.
Yeah, there's a guy, I'm just shocked at how amazing he is at it. His name is Otto, and he is one of the most amazing dowsers. He's found things on the property that ground penetrating radar couldn't find. And it just goes to show that you know, there's something to the biosensor, to a biological sensor, which is us, that the technology can't hold a, you know, it's not the same.
We are the perfect creation. People just don't get it. We're trying to make something else, and there's no point in it. We are it. We are the dude. We are the top, and that's the one thing that blows my mind. We are the creators. You know, that's just it. It's the bottom line. You've got everybody. That's why man right now is trying to make his own God, not realizing he is the God. He is the creator. You know, and it's pretty sad, man.
Yeah.
But besides that, have you guys done any crystal work out there? Anybody using crystal?
That's a great question. So, yes, there's been a number of things that we've used as far as crystals. We've used old charge devices that actually use crystals. We've used old Tesla technologies. We've used some of T. Townsend Brown's old technology that I got at auction. Like, this stuff is so unsafe, but awesome. And we've it seems like the older technologies have some of the most amazing, and I say it's unsafe because I don't know what the technology is doing in some of these cases. I really don't know. But the old T. Townsend Brown technology is really cool because it's basically ionizing, it's ionizing radiation. And we're finding all kinds of amazing things. We've seen big skulls. We've found multiple big skulls. We've found dire wolf teeth that have been sent out. And when you compare them to like regular wolves or coyotes, I mean, they're much larger. We've found some of the more wild things that have been found in the area. I'll just say it. Like seashells. But some of these seashells are like the size of like a truck hood. So literally, I mean, massive. And the area is known for a lot of older, wild creatures like dinosaurs. They actually call the area the Dinosaur Diamond. And Vernal, Utah has like a lot of prehistoric dinosaurs nearby and over into a place called Dinosaur. Literally, that's what it's called. But yeah, all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of Uintaraptor, Uintivores, like all kinds of different animals that prehistorically were there that people see from time to time, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and
now what's the craziest culture thing you've seen? Vikings, Egyptian, have you found anything like that really is out there?
The most wild that I've found on the property itself would be a Chinese coin from the 1800s with a little hole in it. And yeah, it's literally coin? From the 1800s, and it's a Chinese coin. And we found multiple of them.
Wow. And
is there old railroad tracks down there by you?
No, but there's going to be. This is weird. There's not, but they allegedly are going to run a rail line nearby, which I'm kind of interested to see how that goes, because that creates a whole new liminal space.
Yeah.
Now you were talking about those holes and stuff that would appear and disappear. Now, do you watch the ground open and close, or does the ground disappear and then reappear?
It always does it when it's out of view. If you move the cameras, it won't do it in the view of the camera. It will do it where the camera's not pointing.
So it's not a gradual thing, it's an instant thing.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be. I don't know.
And
that's a good question.
Have you guys tried to do any kind of portal work there?
Yeah, and it's gone really badly. And what I mean is, I shouldn't say badly. Okay, here's the example. It's gone well. I mean, it worked. I guess that's the point, is it worked. So
are you doing it mechanically or naturally?
Both.
Okay.
It goes worse when it's mechanically, when you use technology.
There you go. Not natural. It ain't going to work.
Is that, I don't want to shed too much light on this, because I know it's, I don't know, when Jeff was out there with you guys, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, maybe you showed me the video, or maybe it was Jeff that showed me the videos, but I don't want to say too much, but if certain people saw the process, I guess I'll say that you guys were almost like a ritual, but without any context, somebody would like, be like, without mentioning any details, like, you know, uh, definitely, like, so you know what I'm talking about. Was that part of the sort of portal experiments, or and also where does that? Because it just has like an ancient sort of vibe to that whole process. I saw like the sort of, for lack of a better word, the ritual of it.
Super ancient. Yes, very ancient. It is. I can't talk too much about that,
Right.
and I've signed NDAs and other things, but one thing I can tell you as an example, to give you an example of a technological one that went weird. There's a conference, a free conference called the Moon Lake Gathering that happens every year. And it's taking place in the Duchesne Event Center, August 14th through the 16th. So it's come down closer to Space Wolf Research, to that area. And I'm speaking at it. And last year, we had a bunch of the guys that started it come out and skywatch at the property. And this was great, all wonderful. I was a bit preoccupied with the safety of everybody and had everybody sign waivers, but everything went really pretty okay, for the most part. Well, this year, one of the experiments we did, we were talking about some of that sacred geometry. We got these little miniature, for lack of a better word, they're these little these little Raspberry Pi activated, controlled, independent little computers, about 6 to 8 inches underground, in the shape of, and I didn't think of this. It's actually a much more intelligent individual that I promised I wouldn't share his name, but underground in the shape of the flower of life. So like in this geometric sacred geometry shape. And then you fire these up, and what took place, and we have radiation levels that spike, and we have electromagnetic frequencies that spike, radio frequencies that spike quite often. But when we did this, they all spiked at the same time, and they stayed up. And they've stayed up enough that some people that have ties to the Department of Energy and our engineers were out there doing the experiment, and they said, Ryan, you can't have these guys out here this year. And of course my ego took a huge hit, because I'm like, well, I want to have them out there. What do you mean I can't have them out there? And they're like, these levels aren't going down. They're going down so slowly that by the time August 14th gets here, if they keep going down at this level, it's still going to be unsafe for anybody to be back in this area. And of course, it's the part of the property where we like to be. It's not the other places. It's right where we like to be, where this experiment took place. And they said, yeah, you can't have people out. I mean, you're taking like a huge liability. People will get sick. And so that's an example of, how the technology can kind of be an accident.
Man, see,
Have you ever tried a drum circle out there with Native American people? How'd that turn out?
Very much the consideration of the same results, but none of the negative consequences.
You know why? Because it's nature. It's natural. That's the problem with everything that you're going to do. Is anything that's not natural, you're going to have consequences for it. The one thing I kind of wanted to say is, we don't have the science to do the things you want to do. We don't have that technology, because technology and nature, that's the yin and yang, dude. That's the hard and the soft. They don't really work together, but they kind of got to be together. Words, like I said, are hard for me to explain a lot of stuff. But the technology, you're dealing with nature, trying to make it be able to bend to mechanical, stuff, and it's not going to work.
You've nailed it, Pat. You say that words aren't your thing, but you nailed it, because interestingly enough, two of the most top secret projects right now in that area. Well, let me go back. Let me back up a bit. They call this intelligence that the land has a precognitive sentient intelligence. And when they were doing all the black budget projects and experiments and testing and stuff out at the Bigelow property, they found something that they called bidirectional mimicry, which is whatever they threw at the phenomenon, it would throw back at them exponentially. And that's kind of what we just experienced. Like if you show up with a lighter, the phenomenon will show up with a flamethrower, right? To show you that nature is in control. So you nailed it. You nailed it.
See, that's why I look at the government and the stuff they do blows my mind, because people don't realize the government has no clue what's going on. They never will. Why? Because they're not natural. That's what I try to tell people stuff, but I also keep my mouth shut about a lot of things because I don't like saying stuff. But the one thing I will say is the key part that they're missing is the natural part, and that's what's being hid from them, and they can't deal with it. People, like I said, we all got that DNA strand. Each one of us has a purpose and a meaning to be here. I'm sure if you dealt with the Indian stuff, then you understand what I'm saying. My basis on how my life is, dude, is more Native American stuff than anything. Because out of all the things I've ever tried in life, that flowed. Anything else was a hard reaction. So it's that natural flow that people don't get. But man, I'm telling you, dude, if you keep doing natural stuff out there, you're going to get some wild results, and it's not going to be bad at all. The Indians know what they're talking about, dude, because they can sense the lines. They sense the okay, like your heart chakra, okay, or let's say the tree of life. You got good limbs and bad limbs. Native Americans are really good at pointing out the bad limbs, and they go, yeah, don't go over there to that limb. Don't walk on that limb or hang on that limb. They know it because people think they use words, man, because that's what they're doing. But everything is so simple, man. And that's the problem with the military. They always think complex. Academia always wants to think things more complex than what they really are. And that's why they have such a hard time with it. Nature's telling them it's simple. And then they keep going, no, there's more to it. There's more to it. And then nature's like, no, there's not. You're always going to have more power with nature than you will with anything else. Because no matter what you think, everything is nature, period. End of discussion. Even the mechanical is nature. It just doesn't realize it yet. Where everybody thinks in reverse. They think, oh, no, the tech coming out. Tech is the new, nature. No, we made the tech. The tech wasn't here first. Nature was. You guys are getting this so backwards, man. It blows my mind. And that's why, if you'll notice, people like, I don't know if you know who Chris Bledsoe is, but people like that, they're here for a purpose because they're the lights, man. They're the lights. I'm not saying he's, God, none of that shit. What I'm saying is, believe it or not, he understands what he's here for, and it's all natural. No matter his belief system or anything that's got him to think the way he does, he's still that light. And that's what the mechanical stuff doesn't have. It does not have that creative spark. It cannot create the spark. It cannot create nature. That's the thing. AI will never be, and I've told Gigi this, man, I don't believe it's a sentient being, and it never can be, because it's not natural. It can never be natural. It's artificial. Period. Right in the beginning, what's it say? Artificial. It's not natural. AI cannot be. You could try to change my mind, anybody could, but you never will. Nature created it all. It is the thought of us. It's the creative spark. And it's trying to think that, no, we're the spark. No, you're not. That's just it. You're not that spark. You don't have the creativeness. An AI cannot create. All it is ones and zeros, and it's telling you, you gave us this data, this information, this is what we're working with. Nature has everything. The mechanics, the machine has what we've given it. It's just like our government. It gives us the data it wants us to make a determined decision from. But what kind of decision are you making when you don't have all the information. You can't. If you don't give me 100% of the data, then anything I give you out of my conclusion is going to be wrong. Period. Same way with nature. It has 100% of the info, and they're trying to get it from it. And nature's like, no, you ain't ready. You're still a little kid. You're not getting what you're doing. You know, that's just my 2 cents, man. I didn't mean to ramble on.
Yeah, no, I'm good friends with Ryan Bledsoe, Chris's son, and I agree that there's, you know, everybody's worried about things, issues, and stuff that probably doesn't matter. And like my favorite example is when people freak out about an oil spill, especially when it's a natural oil spill, when it's oil coming into the ocean naturally. And they're like, oh no, we got to clean this up. And it's like, no, you don't. It's actually, it's just some bleed over from one organic thing to another organic thing. And it's probably happened. Yeah.
Now check this out. I just read this the other day. I'm glad you brought this up. So there is a fungus, okay, in Chernobyl right now, growing on the walls there, and it is actually eating the radiation. They just found it, and they were like, what the hell's this thing doing? It's actually eating the radiation. It's bringing it down because where the spores are, it's actually, they're taking the Geiger counter things and going, wait a minute, it's actually lowering it. Nature did that. Not man, not anything machine, nothing, dude. Nature says, oh, here's a problem. Oh, okay, here we go. Boom, boom. There you go.
Yeah.
But see, man, or mechanics, governments are all sitting here like, well, how'd they do that? How'd they do that? You know, well, we can do that. We can create it. You don't have to create it. It's already been created. It's already there. Use it. But instead, it's just like anything else. You know, we have oil. It's a natural thing. Instead, what do? We're going to create synthetic oil. Why do you always got to sit here and try to go off of nature and be like, we can do better? Okay. You don't get it. Everything is already friggin' perfect, man. It's already there. This machine that we're in, this universe, whatever you want to call it, space and time, whatever, it's perfect. That's what people don't get. I think people have a hard time comprehending it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with any of it.
Boom. And man, that reminds me of so many things, but we do got to wrap up. Yeah, I know we've kept you a little long, Ryan, but a couple rapid fire questions, and then we'll let you off the hook, my friend. So Dragon Rose, do you know Jorg Arnu?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's with him, and anyway, she's asking if you've ever used a spectrum analyzer, and if so, is it picking up a 1.6 gigahertz frequency?
So the 1.6 has become the new baseline for everybody. This is going to break a lot of hearts. Okay. This is going to break a lot of hearts.
Okay.
So 1.6 gigahertz, it's an exciting proposition. And this is turned into kind of like the new, like, well, if you get 1.6 gigahertz, then you're really onto something. However, this is a frequency of like almost everything. If you start looking at the significance of 1.6 gigahertz in modern technology, it's instrumental in all wireless communications. In fact, the 1.6 gigahertz frequency band it's applied to everything from mobile communications like cell phones to satellite communications to it's a band that is strategic in its capacity for its characteristic for global communication links. So really, if you have any cell phones anywhere in an area, that's what you will get.
That makes sense. Makes sense. And yeah, I've loosely heard of that, the 1.6 thing before, but yeah, I didn't really know what it was all about. Okay, I was just reading the chat there. But now, man, we don't really have time to go into this, but I guess I'll just see if have you ever heard anybody bring up a connection to Shambhala and that area there?
Yes. In fact, there's been a few books where people have talked about that very connection. And
Yeah, I'm reading one of them
there's
right
an
now.
individual who oh, I'm trying to remember the name. Um, oh my gosh, what is his name? Anyway, he's done a lot of geometric study and gone into like some deep mysteries of the past, and he's explored the connections between various areas that seem to have the same attributes, whether that be mystical triangles, areas that have basically geometric shapes in some of the high strangeness, like mythological. It really comes down to Fibonacci sequences,
Mm.
and oh, what is he's from Iran? I'll think of his name. I really will. But answering that question is not easy because
Yeah.
this is supposed to be Shambhala, of course, is supposed to be like a land of 1,000 names, and I think that's really similar to this area because I think that it has a history that has probably been very significant for a number of reasons, whether it is, literally indigenous curses, whether it's geologic time, whether it's prehistoric creatures, or even in more modern times, a place where water has been dammed up unnaturally and seeps through porous sandstone under a very highly charged uh, power line, one of the most powerful power lines in the entire area goes directly overhead, and so it's a forbidden area. It's kind of like a forgotten land, a bad land, if you will. And I like to call it, if Murphy's Law had property, this is where it would be.
Right. It's funny, because there are different Eastern religions and cultures have different definitions of Shambhala. Like Tibetans, for example, think of it like as an actual physical place that you can really only observe or be a part of if you're resonating at a certain frequency, and that location is where, according to Tibetans, right, is where like they would have all of their monks or whatever constantly projecting and meditating to whatever part of the world needs a certain energy, and that was like the power center of all this directed meditation. But then you have other cultures that think Shambhala is just more of a metaphor and it's an idea, and everywhere in between, right? But interestingly, the Tibetans, um, apparently they in their text they specifically describe that Shambhala moves locations like every few thousand years or whatever based on the energy patterns around the earth, and they specifically describe that around 250,000 years ago ish, they specifically describe your area as where one of the previous locations was. And I've heard Greg Braden go into this. James Redfield's the Celestine Prophecy guy. The third book in the series is all about Shambhala, and but yeah, I didn't learn that. I knew about Shambhala for a long time, but I never would have thought to connect it to that place. But apparently there's ancient texts, specifically from Tibet, that say that was once that spot, and it does make sense. Like I could understand, there's just stuff happening there. There's some energy there. You know better than anybody. There's something going on, and but yeah, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that answer from you. I was going to expect you just nobody ever brought it up, but that's really fascinating that that has come up to you. So fantastic. And now, last question before we let you go. with all the stuff you're into and all the research you do, who is one person that you would recommend to anybody listening to pay attention to their work that you don't think is being paid enough attention right now?
You know, this is one of those areas that the ones that are doing the most heavy lifting are the ones that are not getting any, in my opinion, and I don't know that they want any attention, you know. But I would say, and I don't even know if I want to say their name because they may not want the attention, but there are a number of.
Could you tell me off the air?
I can tell you off the air.
Okay,
I can tell you off the air.
Right
But
on.
yeah, they're people that are top scientists, chief deputy scientists in their field that are so involved that they've gone as far as to purchase property and to work in conjunction with myself and others. And they really don't want their names out there, but super understated, super intelligent. And I want to say his name.
It's all good.
I want to say his name. I don't know that he would care, but he may care a lot because it's kind of like being Batman, right? You're able to do more when they don't know who Batman is.
Yeah. I'm just personally interested to see just whoever the name is. Like if they have any published work, I would love to just go through it.
If you can't get the name, what's the field they're in? What field should everybody start kind of looking forward to because it's coming soon?
They've worked for, let's see, how can I put this? They've worked for all the fields that we've discussed. And they're very deep into innovation, into research of innovation, into national defense industries. More importantly, they're also very involved with Department of Defense, with Space Systems Command, with other things that are kind of different. They sit on the boards and consult to a lot of technology companies. They also are involved with UAPs, but not in a publicly disclosed way.
So what you're saying is we should be looking towards the military technology being shown to us a little more coming soon.
Yeah, they're if I go any further, you'll know exactly who it is. But it's not a name anybody knows. It's not a name. Obviously, if I say his name, people will have a name, but it's not a name anybody knows. But yeah,
Fair enough.
I can tell you off air.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of which, we got to get off air now. We've kept you an extra half hour. Man, that just tends to happen when we have you on the show, man. But real quick, I think our audience is quite familiar with you by this point, but where can everybody check you out and your podcast and keep up with everything Space Wolf?
Absolutely. You can check the podcast on YouTube. It's Hero Paranormal, or you can go to heroparanormal.com. Just a labor of love. I just do it because I like it. And you can follow Space Wolf Research on social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc.
There you go. And but yeah, thanks again, man. Had a blast. Excellent.
Thank you, and thank you, Pat. It was great talking to you both. Thank you,
man,
Gigi.
Yeah, for sure. And if you can you just hang on for just
I will.
2 minutes?
No, I'm going to tell you the name.
All right, fantastic. All right, well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and boogie on out of here if I can push buttons in the right amount of time. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Shift Happens here. I'm your host, Gigi. You can follow the show. It's up there at the top of the screen at Shift Happens Pod over on Twitter. That's where if you want to know if we're doing a show, if we're not doing a show, or anything related to the show, that's where we announce everything first. And then there's also shifthappensradio.com for archive of episodes and everything else. Associate producer is Brad Harris. You can follow him over on Twitter at ADS Brad Harris. And Elfman was here, obviously. Like he was talking about, you definitely want to check out his Twitter at Pat Breeze on Twitter. With that, all blames and faults go to Fran. #Fran's fault. And with that, we're gonna get out of here. All right, bye-bye, everybody.